Yeah, I mean, when he's out there, it's hard to like double cover anybody, because if you do that, then you're leaving Christian one-on-one on a linebacker most of the time. And so he opens that area up for us, and like you can see it too. Like if you go back and watch the tape, any pass plays that we had where, and it's nothing against like Jordan Mason or Isaac. It's just Christian can run every single route. And you see the deep routes that he has, all the checkdowns that he gets. You can't double team anybody else because you have to help on Christian, and so that opens up a ton of stuff for the wide receivers, myself, Debo. And so he makes everyone else's life much easier, including Brock's.
That was George Kittle talking about the impact of Christian McCaffrey being back in the offense. And just like I told John Lund and Larry Krueger on the pregame, he was the player to bank on. You guys botch it each and every week. Adam Copeland,
you said Jake Moody was the player to bank on.
No, I do. You picked Moody. You picked Moody. I called him your boy because you were there when he was drafted. We were there. You got to talk to Kyle. You were excited about it. All you've done is be excited about Jake Moody and his return since the minute they drafted him. We'll get to our post-game player interview. Another man who was unaware that McCaffrey was going to be an impact player today. Larry Krueger, our post-game interview, sponsored by the Handlery Union Square Hotel, San Francisco's oldest family-owned hotel. I'd say Christian McCaffrey probably the bright spot of this game, Larry, and there weren't a ton of them, but I do think offensively they looked okay.
Christian, it was a little dubious to me that Christian got 19 touches and Mason got 1.
Sure.
And Garendo got 1. I'd like to see a little bit more balance there. I'd like to see them spread it around, but, you just kind of heard the dilemma that Kyle has. I mean, you have a player that does everything better. It's hard not to lean on him, especially when the stakes are what they are. I kind of thought Ricky Pearsall was fantastic today. I liked what I saw from Pearsall. He made big plays in both halves. He got the touchdown, his first NFL touchdown. I thought, somebody's going to have to step up and into those shoes that were vacated when Brandon Ayuk left. And Pearsall's the most likely guy to do it. And today he stepped up, and I thought he gave them a real shot in the arm.
I thought it was great, and I know that there's a lot of negative to talk about with special teams and Moody and all these kind of things, but since you started the thread here, I thought Pearsall was great. Not only the 46-yard touchdown, but the 2 big catches he made. Juwan Jennings played the X, and he technically took over for Brandon Ayuk. I thought he made a lot of great plays, especially on that final drive. I thought Brock early struggled with his accuracy, but then late in the game, especially in the fourth quarter, second half, but in the fourth quarter, he was really, really good. So, and for a lot of the game, and you got to go back on after they have the turnovers, but I thought especially in the first half, the defense was active. They were hitting. They were playing much better. Fred Warner had a great third down tackle. Devondre Campbell had a great third down tackle in that first half, and they were really dominating until special teams kind of flipped the game around.
Yeah. No, the defense looked like they were coming off the bye. They had a lot of energy. Campbell was flying around. Warner was flying around. And once again, Mustafa and Green are major players in this defense now. Renardo had 2 passes defensed. He had 5 tackles. Mustafa had 7 tackles in this game. He's not 100%. So they really did add a couple of fantastic young players there. But I'll tell you, I was frustrated as heck watching this defense today. This Tampa offense has nothing, absolutely nothing, and yet they always acted surprised when they were going to Cade Otton on these third downs. It's like, oh, they're going to Cade Otton. That's all they had was Cade Otton. And I also thought there was a huge mistake in this game by Tampa's offensive coordinator. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but when at the end of the game, when they got down to the 9-yard line, Bucky Irving, the Niners were not stopping.
He was gashing him for 5.5 a carry, Larry.
Right. Yeah. Bucky Irving was every carry that I saw get handed to Bucky, I was like, uh-oh. Every carry for Rachaad White, it's like, okay, he can catch the ball, but he's not the same elusive guy. He doesn't have the same scoot. And sure enough, they get 1st and goal on the 9. They ran Rachaad White. They got to 2nd and goal. He went 4 yards. He got down to the 5. And then Evan Anderson had that huge tackle for loss on White, but both those carries went to White. And I thought if they'd gone to Irving, they might have scored there.
Touchdown. Talking to Larry Krueger, nice enough to join us after the 49ers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. Better, worse, or the same after this win? How do you feel about this team, Larry?
That's a good one. I guess I would say better from the standpoint of I wasn't really sure what Pearsall was going to contribute, and he looks like a guy who can contribute consistently. He seems like he's getting a little bit better every week. I guess I feel a little bit better because I thought they would need to spread it around to McCaffrey, Mason and Garendo, and instead it was all McCaffrey. So in a way, you got a win, and you gave Mason almost like a full week off, and he's been ridden pretty hard. The special teams, I don't know what to say about Schneider. You a muffed punt and 3 missed field goals, and now, Anders Carlson's now a Jet, so he's no longer available. The kickers that you had without Moody made 8 for 8, and then you go back to Moody, he misses 3. So the special teams has just been so bad this year, and it's something different every week. So I don't feel good about the special teams. I still have got some concerns on defense, but I do feel like offensively they're starting to peak. And Brock Purdy, I thought, was really bad in the first half in this game. Not just that he didn't look great. I thought the ball that he threw today in the first half just had a wobble to it. It didn't have a lot of. He just wasn't zipping the ball around. And then in the second half, though, he completed 75% of his passes. And outside of that one fumble that JJ fell on, Purdy had a pretty flawless, last few drives. So I thought Brock kind of saved himself with how he played in the second half.
Well, I thought it was kind of like the opposite of what they're doing. They had a 10-0 lead, and then obviously it's 10-3. They shut them down with the third quarter opening drive, and then that muff happened, and I think everything flipped. But at least they were able to win the game. If we were sitting here and they had lost in their 10-point lead, it would be like the Cardinals game, like the Rams game. The fact that they won it, we can look at the negative things and say they got to clean that up. And Adam brought up a great point. Kyle was in there for a long time, the longest time he's been all year long. And I think it was a message of, we got away with this one, we got to stay together, all those kind of things. And I think that maybe this is a galvanizing moment because, look, I understand why Debo was frustrated at the end. He was pissed. And he told, apparently, according to Taylor Pepper, he told Jake Moody to lock in. He grabs Pepper's face mask because they all know what's at stake here. And in the moment, I don't think that's a great thing, but maybe that's a galvanizing moment. And I think that Kyle probably talked about that in the postgame because they've got to lock in, man. Because, Larry, if we were sitting here and they were 4-5, they'd be in a lot of trouble. Arizona's winning today. They did get a lot of help today. New Orleans beat Atlanta. That could move the NFC West winner over the NFC South winner, and then you got a 3-6 instead of a 4-5. A couple of upsets. The Commanders lose to the Steelers in the last seconds of that game. Now they're 7-3. So, and I like the Commanders, but, they're not absolutely dominant. And Philly's lucky to be up 7-3 at Dallas. Dallas had the ball inside the 5-yard line, and Zeke Elliott fumbled at the goal line. So, they could get a little help today, and by the end of this thing, 5-4 may not look so bad. So hopefully they get a little bit of help. But if we're talking about a loss today, man, we might be talking about a funeral.
Yeah, this was big. This was big. And as far as the old Debo thing with Pepper, this is just it's type A personalities, a lot of competitive fire, a lot of pressure. Guys, it's just the way it is. I've seen coaches brawl over film sessions, where you got shoe spit, cups flying and all kinds of swearing and guys breaking stuff. And so it's kind of par for the course. That part, it doesn't happen in the office place in people's lives for the most part, but it does happen in the NFL a lot. So I don't think there's anything really there. But I'll say this, and my only thing, if I was Shanahan, is like, hey, you want to hold somebody accountable, that's fine. They're going to hold you accountable too. And how about this? How about we just don't put our hands on each other's throats?
Is that too much
say
to
what
ask?
you gotta say.
Don't
say what you got to say. Be real with one another. Be harsh to one another. You want to hold your brother to a high standard? Hold him to a high standard. Let's just not grab each other by the throat.
Don't spree well anybody. We don't need that. You know what I mean? We don't need, you know what I'm saying?
Just no 2x4s. No outward violence. But it's they will work it out. It's not that big a deal. But I'm sure Tabor and the punter, the long snapper, the kicker are a tight fraternity right there within the team. And I'm sure Debo said lock in, but it's like I'm sure Tabor's like, hey bro, how about you run for more than 2 yards on one of these end arounds?
Imagine Jake Moody sent that back to him after missing 3 field goals. How about you give me a couple
extra yards per carry today, huh? Yeah. How many are you picking up today, Debo?
I know we're on the radio and everything, but it was pretty obvious watching the I don't read lips for a living, but I know shut the F up. You can see it pretty clearly.
And that's what Tabor said after the game. He said, we know what our job is. We got us. It's hard being a specialist, as young developing specialist Jake is. the best mental exercise that's the best mental exercise you can have is trying to lock in, and missing 3 in a row, that's tough. And so he said, I'm super proud of him. Tabor's been around for a little bit. In terms of some, I just think that literally when I saw this happen, and John said this earlier, you can be galvanized by that. I thought of the 0-2 Giants when the Bonds and Kent and David Bell thing went down in San Diego, and the next day they get flipped in the lineup, and then that was it. That was kind of the move they needed to sort of make that lineup take off and run. That can galvanize a locker room, can it not?
It absolutely can and often does. Now, it all depends on how you handle, the little mini fisticuffs. If you allow things to stew and bad feelings to fester, then it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? The one thing I would say about this, and a guy who I know who's in the Night organization texted me, and he's like, you know what? I'm glad they're in Tampa and not L.A., because they need a long flight to bond coming back instead of a short flight. And I know exactly what he means. It's like on a short flight, you get up, 90 minutes, you have a little, snack, whatever, you're off the plane. In a cross-country flight, they're going to get Tabor and Debo together. They're going to hammer it out. They're going to talk it out. They're going to hug it out. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as long as they win. I mean, that's the thing. It's the great deodorant to win. If they lose this game, that it could tear everybody apart. Because if he misses that last field goal, I shudder to think what it would be like. Honestly, I think he would have probably had to have a different flight. Like, Jed would have had to send a different flight for the kicker because, who's sitting next to him? Yeah, I guess Tabor Pepper could and the punter could, but, the whole thing's looking at going, really? And, Kyle said this after the game. That's a hell of an amount. That's a lot of pressure, man. If he misses that last one, he misses 4 kicks and you lose the game. Have you ever heard of that? It would be insane.
It would be like sometimes when they're like, "Hey Jimmy, you get to go ride up in the cockpit with the captain."
Exactly.
They'd be like, "Jake, you get to ride up in the cockpit because you're not allowed back here with the rest of us."
Yeah, he's got to ride in like the jump seat, and they have to lock that thing. And Devo's just. I need to talk to you, Captain. My no one's allowed up here.
You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Seriously, man. If he misses that last kick, man, I don't know how they could keep him. There'd just be no way.
How do you? When you get on the plane, you're staring everybody in the face. But who cares? Because you don't know any of those people. But when you're on a football team and you get on a plane, that's like your moment of accountability. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like you're walking back to your seat and everybody's looking everybody in the eye. So it's like, if you miss 4 field goals, you might want to just be like, hey, you know what? Me and my wife are gonna fly charter. We're gonna fly charter tonight.
We're gonna stay in Tampa for a couple of nights. Yeah, we wanted to check out the sites. Yeah.
Our in-laws are in suburban Tampa. We're gonna go visit.
Well, we've talked to Dennis about this. Like, Doug Bryan was actually a good kicker, and Dennis just says he was weird and quirky, and nobody was really friends with him, and he was a good kicker. Like, imagine what these guys think of kickers that can't kick. Oh, my God.
Well, Shanahan said it the other day. He was talking about Matthew Wright, and he's like, it was our kicker, the kicker, our kicker. It's like, it really kind of came across like kind of dismissive.
Remember after Moody got hurt, they were asking him who came in, and he said, I haven't gotten any names.
A bunch of guys who kick.
Even when Moody was drafted, remember, Copes were in there.
We were there,
We're sitting there, and Kyle's like, well, I wanted to draft a running back, but I guess we need a kicker. Neither of them are jumping for joy. Man.
To be fair, it's not like they were hitting gold on a lot of third-round running backs either. Just around the same.
Yeah, but no more third-round kickers. Seriously.
Only fifth-round punters. I hang my hat on that.
I don't care if the Shohei Ohtani of kickers, some guy who's a kicker and a punter, I don't care if the Ohtani of punters and kickers is in the next draft. And it's going to save you on the cap, and there's like all these logical reasons. He can do both. We save a roster spot. We got an extra safety.
And he's got wheels too, right? Yeah, he can do a bunch of fakes.
He's 4'3". No.
The Ohtani of kickers.
I do. You take the Ohtani of kickers. I'm going to call Anders on the other line.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
One more for you, Kirk, before we let you go, dude. What the hell's Bosa doing, man? Can we just shove him? Can we trip him? Can we do something, dude? What the hell's going on there on the sideline?
Not only that, did you see his sack dance?
Yeah,
come on.
And I know you saw his sack.
Come on, what do we do?
But I was thinking to myself on the replay.
We love the dances. Our favorite dance.
It was like he was dancing with Baker. And why are you smiling? It's like, why let him keep the stiff arm? Slap down that arm. You're a defensive end. He's a quarterback. Slap down that arm and dive down and bring him to the ground. All I could figure is, it's 85 degrees. These guys are practicing in 50, and maybe they're just a little gassed. That's all I could figure.
That was one of the weirdest plays ever, and I know we haven't talked about it a ton, but he's got his arm, and like Baker's just kind of, like you said, just kind of hanging out, waiting. He's got his other arm up, but he's got his non-throwing arm. It's like, I understand that these guys don't want to get fined, and they don't want to hurt. They're not. You can't hurt a quarterback. Can't hit a quarterback hardly. Maybe he was waiting for the whistle. I don't know, but in that situation, it's 4th and 7. You rip his arm off. You hit him. You get him down to the ground. My God, man, that was crazy.
Yeah. Seriously, I mean, they were both stiff-arming each other, and it's like, slap that arm down and dive at his midsection.
Yeah, do something.
Put that guy on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, John just keeps saying rip his arm off. I'm like, what are you hanging your hat on that, John?
Well,
Jesus,
whatever.
You said it like 5 times.
I'm watching the video right now, and even after he threw the ball, he's still like grabbing, and he's not even grabbing it hard, So I don't know.
Yeah, that was like, what would you say you do here? And then Bosa only had like one pressure. It was not a stellar
Justin
day for
Nick. When Justin School played for the 49ers, I was like, oh my God, our quarterback's getting killed.
You're just lighting guys up today, Justin School. I was like, the same Justin School? Unbelievable, dude. Yeah, I thought Bosa was after his boy on Tuesday. I thought he was poised for a huge week. Anyway, Adam Copeland, Larry Krueger, and John Lund with you. Krug, appreciate the time as always, man. We'll be listening to you on tomorrow night on the Krug, or on the, we'll see you always on the Krug show, but tomorrow on Niners Nightly, 6 to 7.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Brian.
Have a good one.
All right, we'll come on back. We'll get you the player of the game, Adam Copeland, John Lund. Niners 23-20 over the Bucs. We love the sack dance. We'll talk about it more next on the Sports Leader.
I think it comes down to just really just one or two plays, as silly as it sounds, one or two plays. It's like, man, really, that's all it is? But that's truly what it is, because one or two plays can mean the difference in, a touchdown versus a field goal versus a takeaway versus, there's all these little things that go into it. And, I'm not going into the game hoping that, man, I hope it's an easy game, because if you go with that mindset, then you're not going to be ready for those moments that we were in today. I came into it saying, if it comes down to the final play and the defense got to stand up and win it, then I'm going to be ready, and that was my message to our defense, and that's going to be the message going forward. You prepare like you're going to dominate the team that you're playing, but you're prepared for whatever, you prepare for that fight, and so when you are in that battle, then you're ready for it.
That's the voice of Fred Warner following the Niners' 23-20 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and there's a whole lot of storylines to pull apart with this one. The return of Christian McCaffrey, 113 yards from scrimmage on 117 yards from scrimmage on 19 total touches. And you heard Larry Krueger just a few minutes ago with us talking about how it's tough for Kyle Shanahan to take him out of the game, because even the guys who are the change of pace guys who would give you something different, you go, well, okay, but Christian McCaffrey does all those things better, and if he has the energy to do it, why not have him out there? Isaac Guerrero is in there for what I counted, or I recall, being 2 snaps, 1 carry, 0 yards. Very next play, he misses on a chip block and gets Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy kind of blown up in the backfield there. So he was out of there fairly quickly after that. I thought McCaffrey looked really good while he was out there. Purdy looked very good, I thought, on the final drive, though he was sloppy in the first half. George Kittle had a huge touchdown catch. And I got to tell you, the receiving game looked pretty good. I don't know what you thought in general, but if you're looking for more bright spots in a game that's a victory but doesn't totally feel like a victory, the receiving game for the Niners I thought was fantastic.
Absolutely great. You looked at the way that John Jennings was in the place of Brandon Ayuk playing out there, very good. Debo is Debo at times. He's going to struggle, there's no doubt, against man, but he made some plays, especially in the second half, and a nice catch and run. And then Ricky Pearsall, I think you got to be really happy about the way that Ricky played today, especially in that touchdown, but a couple of catches on that final drive. Kittle is Kittle. He's on an absolute heater. That catch he made, getting the feet down in the corner of the end zone. He's done that a couple of times this year to save the 49ers and Brock Purdy. That was the touchdown that put him ahead. And getting CMC out of the backfield. You had him for 6 catches. I just don't think the offense is going to be a problem. Brock in the first half still had some inaccurate high throws. I think just settled down a little bit, but in the second half he was great. Offense is going to score. Defense has still got to be a little bit better, although in the first half it was encouraging because they were the way that they were running around there. But yeah, the receiving options that they've got going, I think that they're going to be fine. You're always going to miss Brandon Ayuk, but to draft Pearsall in the first round and to see the way that he has responded and remember, he didn't play much in camp even before he got shot, and so here we sit at now week 10, and I think Ricky Pearsall is just going to get better.
The player of today's game is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly with Bigelow Tea. Your thoughts on the player of the game? I'm happy to go with Ricky Pearsall. First career touchdown grab. I thought he looked pretty good, especially a big catch on the final drive. Juwan Jennings would be the other one. I thought he was fantastic and picked up a couple of huge third downs and had a huge play on that final drive.
Yeah, I just a lot of the guys offensively, and again, Brock, you could put in that hopper. I think that McCaffrey, even though, this is, I think, going to be – here's the thing that's most encouraging about today, even though it's just a weird game, is that Christian McCaffrey, if we find out tomorrow that he feels fine, touched the ball 19 times on his return,
yep,
keeps himself in miraculous shape, and he looked like Christian McCaffrey. I didn't see any points where I thought, this isn't Christian McCaffrey. They've got to be better in the running game, but if he can touch the ball 20 times in what I think is going to be his worst game of the season, then the 49ers are going to be looking good on offense because he's just going to get better and better the more he gets into football shape.
Do you think Brock Purdy's numbers look better than he played?
Yeah.
350 plus, 353, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, they're just, especially in the first half, he missed some easy throws. We're kind of seeing that every single week. But you know what? Here's the thing, is that teams are playing him differently. We talk about the man coverage, but it's also they're jamming everything inside. He loves to go to in-breaking routes. They know that. They're just trying to force him to do certain things. And also what they're doing is they're saying, look, we're going to jam the run. We're going to continue to try to make Brock Purdy beat us. He's up to that challenge most times. And here's the other thing, too. Pearsall's still getting into it. Debo is still figuring out, without Ayuk, what's kind of his deal. Juwan Jennings is moving positions. So it's not just that. There's a lot of elements to the passing game of why they're not exactly on the same page. Because remember, Ayuk was still trying to get on the same page as Brock Purdy, and he and Purcell haven't played a lot together. CMC is just coming back. I really expect the offense to just continue to gel and get better. So all of those are part of it. But I think also in terms of Brock, I just think teams are scouting him and they're trying to make him do consistently things he doesn't want to do. They don't play as much zone.
Yeah.
They jam the inside routes on him. He's going to have to continue to make plays in places where the defenses are going to challenge him. And Tampa doesn't have a bad defense. So for him to play the way he did in the second half and especially in the fourth quarter, very encouraging.
I'll be honest. I anticipated, and I agreed with Larry Krueger when he said to us the defense felt like they were off a bye week. They seemed springy early on in the game, and that it seemed like maybe the exhaustion and the heat kind of wore on them. But the offense, I got to tell you, I thought early on they looked pretty good first couple of drives, but I expected a little bit more chemistry and cohesion. I know Christian McCaffrey coming back in there. We just weren't sure about the usage and how much he would be out there. But I thought even having Juwan Jennings back, having Debo out there, Ricky Pearsall, who's at least been practicing for some time now, I'd sort of anticipated a little bit more of that. And again, they put up over 400 yards of offense. It just doesn't feel, because of the way they had to pull this one out after having opportunity after opportunity, that they got away with a victory, even though it feels like a loss in this one. Again, 413 yards. They outgained them by nearly 200 yards. 61 offensive plays to 58. They went 6.8 yards a play to the 3.7, and they barely win by 3. So that's sort of what I mean here, in that as good as the offense has been between the 20s, they didn't oftentimes have chances beyond the 20 today. 1 for 3 in the red zone. Yet again, that's not going to help their overall average.
Yeah, and just because you win a game doesn't mean that everything is wiped away. I mean, again, winning is a great deodorant, but I know that one of the reasons why Kyle was in that locker room was they've still got a lot of work to do. They're not going to win. You're not going to miss 3 field goals, have a muffed punt where you give the team the other ball, or the other team the ball inside of your red zone, make those kind of mistakes and win football games. And that's probably part of the reason why Kyle took a minute there. But they've got to relish the fact that they did it. It's just that they've got to be a lot cleaner. Seattle is a very winnable game, obviously, and I think they're going to go to 6-4 after that. But then it starts to get really difficult. Are you going to win at the road in Green Bay playing this game? Are you going to win at Buffalo playing this type of game that you played? Those teams are too good. So I think that Kyle is happy for the win, but a guy as detail-oriented as Kyle is, he's not happy with the performance. He's just happy with the win.
Did you agree with Krug when he said he would have liked to see more from – he thought it was dubious to have McCaffrey out there that much? Again, I just think if he feels okay and he feels all right, he wasn't – it wasn't like it's like when a pitcher goes deep into a game and then he gives up one hit and they pull him out or something. You go, okay, but he hasn't been in the stretch all game. There haven't been high-stress innings. Like, just being at 100 pitches isn't necessarily – it's what we literally talk about with pitch count, with a guy on a snap count. I was okay with it because he never looked like – it was problematic, and they didn't hand it to him a ton. It was 13 carries to 6 receptions.
Look, and plus he's a freak. He just keeps himself in
great
shape.
He's not the same, yeah.
And it's, and they took him out every once in a while and said, how you feeling? He says, great. You put him back in. I agree with you. There's certain pitchers, Logan Webb does it for the Giants, throws a couple hundred innings, and it doesn't seem to be a big deal for him. Not everybody is the same. And if they felt like, and they have all these devices now, they have all these things, they know what Christian McCaffrey's feeling. He's telling them the truth. He's not going to come back and push it. You don't just do a cookie-cutter thing and say, okay, because McCaffrey's been out, we're going to use him X amount. They gave him the 20 touches, and I don't think and we talked to Matt Miyoko about this before the game. We talked to Tim Ryan about this before the game. You talked to Kyle Shanahan on your show late in the week. They all said the same thing. He's not on a pitch count, and yet somehow we expected him to be. So,
Adam Copeland, John Lund with you. Niners over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 23-20. We'll continue to talk about this one. We'll be with you until about 3:15 today. We'll get you some scores from the KNBR Score Center when we come on back before we catch up with
but no weather from the Weather Center?
Nah, I don't think Raph is here.
Traffic?
Maybe Raph is here. Maybe we can get Raph in the KNBR Weather Center to give us a KNBR weather report. Let's go ahead and get the weather report in Tampa for a game that's already wrapped up. Raph will join us for the KNBR weather report from the Weather Center. Maybe we'll get Tim Webb to hit us in the Score Center.
How about the clouds?
Yeah.
Lots of clouds.
And he's like, more clouds late in the game. I was like, all right, well, is that gonna change anything? No, bro, just some clouds. Adam Copeland, John Lund with you. John Dickinson going to join us in about 5 minutes at the top of the hour as well. Niners over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 23-20 on the Sports Leader.
Second down, 10, 11-yard line. Purdy, quick snap, looks right. Purdy time. Purdy pushed out to his right now. Gonna still keep the ball and roll to his left. Vita Vea chasing him, gets his shoulders around, throws to the back of the end zone. Caught by George Kittle. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Brock Purdy, a touchdown pass there as part of a 353-yard, 2-touchdown day. That pass to George Kittle into the back left corner of the end zone. Acrobatic catch. He drags his toes. We'll make that our drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda. More than just a car dealership. John, we're family. When it comes to George Kittle's touchdown receptions this year, how many games in a row now is that? Well, he didn't have one in the Kansas City game, but he's now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's his 7th touchdown grab of the season, and he scored in all but 2 games this year, Kansas City and the opening night game against the New York Jets. Pretty impressive. We'll be joined by John Dickinson, super reporter here from KNBR momentarily. As soon as we make the connection, we'll talk about this one with him. But George Kittle, I mean, clearly the best receiving tight end in football now. I know Travis Kelce had another touchdown grab today, but I think he's now – I don't know how long this goes on for, and it's been 1A and 1B in terms of Kelce and Kittle, I think, for the last number of years. But Kittle has been a godsend, I think, in a year where guys have been banged up.
Yeah, like you said, he didn't score in the Jets game on 5 targets, 4 for 40 in that game, had a long of 26, and then he didn't score against Kansas City, although he did have 7 for 92. But outside of that, like you said, he had one today, had one against Dallas, had 2 against Seattle, was just absolutely great in that game. Had 8 catches for 64 yards in the Arizona game. We know what he does as far as blocking is concerned, but without McCaffrey, he's been absolutely essential. And now that he's back, and this is where even when CMC is not catching the football, opens things up for George Kittle. And you keep looking back, too, at the plays that he's making at the time. You know, that toe tap catch that he made in the end zone today was absolutely massive. You go back to the one where he high pointed against 2 guys earlier on in the season. I mean, he's having a tremendous season, and it's funny because Kittle at now 31, he just turned 31 in early October. You know, he's one of those guys that you hear whispers around the 49ers. You know, he when they start having to pay guys, is Kittle going to be around? Is Kittle going to be around? I don't know how he can't be, because he's just so good in the pass game. He's such a vocal leader of his team.
Can't imagine him not being
positive.
Here. Yeah, I was like,
yeah, exactly. He's so positive. All these different things that you have to do, and plus, even though he is making top of the market tight end money, it's still not what you have to pay, other positions on the team. I mean, it's above running back. I get that, but I mean, it's one of the lowest paid positions. So, I know what George, if he gets too expensive, but I can't imagine this team both on and off the field without the guy. He's the heartbeat of this team.
I believe we made the connection with our guy, John Dickinson, super reporter from KNBR. Niners 23-20 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're coming home 5-4. It's a victory for the Niners, JD, but it didn't totally feel like one. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Good to be with you, and it is a win. And, I mean, short and sweet on that. It's better than the alternative. I mean, can you imagine the conversations we'd be having about everything had they lost the game? Another lead blown. You've got the incident and altercation between Deebo Samuel and Jake Moody and Tabor Pepper. You've got Moody missing 3 kicks and everything. You still may have to deal with something there. But you get the win, and you're able to, try to regather and collect everybody together, and you're still fighting forward to try and get a playoff spot and or win the division. You stayed in it today. I think the way this game played out, had the Niners lost it the way they would have lost it, I think it could have had the potential to absolutely break them for the remainder of the season, considering the gauntlet that they have coming up. So they are able to avoid that, at least for a couple of weeks. But, man, this team's still got a lot to clean up for as the penalties. And, I mean, it just did a lot of things well, but so many mistakes. And so many of the problems that we've seen throughout the course of the season just on display again today, and it almost bit them again.
I think you bring up a great point. Had Moody missed that final kick, not only with the loss, but the way it would have blown up the locker room, I think that Debo's going, everything's fine, and Kyle saying everything's fine, and Tabor Pepper saying, we'll get over it, all those kind of things. They will, because they won the football game. But had they not, I think that this might have been the end of the 49ers as we know them.
John called it a funeral earlier. Is when they
well, I think it would have been, just because, like you said, all of a sudden you're 4-5. Arizona's crushing the Jets right now. They're not going anywhere. It's going to be interesting, Miami and the Rams tomorrow night. And they did get some help around the league. Atlanta lost, some other teams lost. The Commanders lost, which could move the 49ers up. So the difference one kick can make, because I think that they'd have had it with the special teams. I'm not, I know Brian Schneider didn't miss the kicks, but I don't know if he'd have been around. They just made so many mistakes. But I think it would have been just massive. And here you are, he gets a 44-yard field goal to win the football game. And while everything is not perfect, a win is a win, and they'll take it. And then there's lots of things they got to tighten up, obviously. But, man, like you said, had they lost this game, man, that might have been the end of things.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot to clean up. But, yeah, I mean, it would have been a fourth kick. Let's say he misses that kick and it goes to overtime and they end up losing. To your point on Schneider, I would agree. They had the play where you get Luter blocked into Cowing and it ends up completely turning the game when the 49ers were kind of in control, even though this is another one of those games where it felt for a decent chunk of the first half like the 49ers were in control, and then you look up at the score and all of a sudden it's 10-10, and the Buccaneers are getting stronger as the game goes on, and it looks like the 49ers are just going to have to hang on. Now, that being said, I mean, the defense did hold the Buccaneers out of the end zone there at the end. Otherwise, you lose the game right there. But the penalties and just the mistakes, I mean, this team's got to, they didn't look like a team that were coming off the bye with a major rest advantage. In fact, the Buccaneers looked like the team that was maybe coming off the bye as the game went on. They looked fresher and like they were imposing their will on the 49ers, and the 49ers were kind of wilting away in the heat and humidity here in Tampa. So, no, it's a win that allows you to survive and try to build some positive momentum, but this team's got a ways to go if they're going to be the finished product that can not only get in, because I do think they're good enough to get in. They're certainly talented enough, but it's get in and make a run. It's not just, hey, get in and play a home game and then see you later on to 2025. The goals for this team are much greater than that.
Talking to John Dickinson, nice enough to join us after the Niners beat the Bucs 23-20. By the way, I found it. Jim Bakken, December 11, 1966, for the St. Louis Cardinals. He missed 6 field goals against the Atlanta Falcons. So Moody was safe for the record. He wasn't even sniffing that.
Well, that's something.
Yeah, that's something to take home with you on the plane as they come back cross country 5-4. I asked Larry Krueger this a few minutes ago. JD, do you feel better, worse, or the same about this team after the win?
I feel better because I would have felt worse had they lost.
Well, of course.
So no, But I do feel better that they got the win and move forward. I know you're not asking me, do you feel better because they won versus how it would have felt if they lost, just better overall. No, I do, because they still have that chance. I mean, they did get Christian McCaffrey back today. It didn't fix their red zone issues. They got to figure out how to run the ball, better in the red zone. Maybe they're still a little too predictable in the red zone. But I do think, Christian McCaffrey, we can, I thought he looked like himself. Maybe did you guys think he lacked a little explosiveness maybe in the running game? Like I thought he looked like his normal self. I thought the Bucs
first run he definitely kind of shot out of a cannon there. I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah. So I think if he can stay healthy, I do think Ricky Pearsall continues to grow. And look, Brock Purdy I don't think had his best game in terms of just efficiency and seeing everything and making the right play consistently, but today is a big-time Brock Purdy game in terms of the big moments and the throw to McCaffrey where he, just kind of lobs it up there, and the escape and then throw to Kittle, and what a catch by Kittle. So no, I do feel better. I think we were all kind of hoping that they were going to come out and really put it to the Bucs, considering the circumstances that Tampa Bay's been in this year with all of their injuries and the short week and all that. So I think everybody in the Bay was expecting dominance, and sometimes you go on the road, even if you are the better team, and you don't dominate. You play a sloppy game, but you figure out a way to get a win, and then you get it together the next week, and as time goes on, you do play better and get your act together and start to become the team that we've known.
You always wish you could be.
Last few years.
It's always dreamed of being.
Exactly. Right. No question. The big concern for me, honestly, of everything, it's miscues, penalties, general sloppiness, all that. But the Bucs and teams really do not fear the Niners stopping the run against them at all. Like teams and teams just know they can get what they need when they want it. And as the game goes on, they seemingly just get more and more comfortable. And I don't know if it's a wear down issue. I know Evan Anderson had a big play there in addition to a big mistake with the penalty. One of the many penalties that kept that thing going for
Tampa. The third of 3 in a row. I don't know if they've ever seen that. You know, it was weird.
Yeah. And, I mean, that just would have been a colossal defeat but it didn't. And so now they've got a chance to get it back together. But I still, the defense has been bend but don't break at times, but they just are not imposing the way they have been. Bosa got home finally after they, got the lead and got the Bucs in a 3rd and long, and he's able to get home there. But they're just not dominant. It feels like the defense is just trying to hold it together the best they can in some big moments and just not break, which again is not something that we're used to seeing this team play like.
John Dickinson, super reporter, live from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. We've got a Dubs OT tonight, right? As the Dubs are getting ready to take on Oklahoma City in Oklahoma City to wrap up a 5-game road trip. YouTube only tonight for Dubs OT, JD?
Yeah, Dubs OT tonight, about 6:15, 6:30. YouTube only due to Sunday Night Football on KNBR. But, going to wrap up here. Some things on the digital side. Get back to the hotel and put on the Dubs game. And we'll have Dubs OT right about 6:15, 6:30, right at the final horn with my guy Greg Silver on KNBR YouTube. And couldn't be happier, man. This is why I love being here, man. We got Niners during the day, fly those 2,800 miles, and we got Dubs at night, man. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, if you were really a hard worker, you'd be in OKC tonight. But we appreciate you doing the show anyway.
Well,
he's everywhere,
dude.
Hardest working guy.
Here's what I know. You had the PJ in my original contract, and it somehow that went away. So.
Appreciate the time today, JD, and we'll be listening to you and watching you tonight. YouTube only, following the Dubs and Oklahoma City. As soon as that game goes final, you can catch our guy John Dickinson and Greg Silver over on Dubs OT. Appreciate you, JD.
Thanks, guys.
All right, dude. Safe trip back. Adam Copeland, John Lund with you. We'll put a bow on this one when we come on back. We'll get you what's on tap for the 49ers after they come on home, getting ready to come on home. They may be on the plane already. Up 5-4 now in the NFC West standings. We'll see what happens across the rest of the West, and the Rams do play tomorrow. We'll get you what's on tap for the Niners. Seattle next, only here on the Sports Leader.
Tabor Pepper will snap to Mitch Wisnowski. Number 4 will try to make it here. Good snap. Jake has it away. Jake has the distance, and Jake Moody is good! Money! Moody!
Wow.
Somehow, some way, the Niners win in Tampa Bay.
Somehow, some way, after 3 missed kicks in a row by Jake Moody. Money Moody there at the end.
Money.
John's favorite player. Niners win.
Money as in if you miss that kick, you're going to have to buy your own ticket home. It's only money he was needing to pull out. Aren't I on the plane? No. Only players are on the plane.
Sorry,
you are not on the plane.
I don't see your name on this list, sir. I don't have
Sorry, sir. What, number 4? No, I don't see a number 4 on this list.
Brett Favre on this team, sorry. Adam Copeland, John Lund with you. Niners 23-20 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll talk about this one all week long. There's lots to pull apart in this one, and so far it seems like the one of the highlights here is they've come away unscathed in terms of injury. We'll get you What's on Tap here, sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing with 8 locations around Northern California. Fresh beer is always right around the corner. What's on Tap is the Seahawks come to town for a division game next Sunday, 1:05. So we'll be on at 9 o'clock a.m. Local time here, 9 a.m. right here on the Sports Leader. Myself, John Lund, and the Super Bowl champion, Dennis Brown. Then it gets really, really hairy in terms of schedule. You go at Green Bay for a Sunday afternoon tilt the following week, and then you go Sunday Night Football on December the 1st at Buffalo. So home for the Seahawks, at Green Bay, at Buffalo, and then I think we'll come up for air and see how the 49ers stand, getting ready for a home tilt with the Chicago Bears and the LA Rams. That's going to do it for us here. Again, we'll talk about it all week long on your home of 49er football for the last 20 seasons. KNBR starting tomorrow, 6 a.m. with Murph and Marcus, Pop and Lund, then, of course, 10 to 2, and myself and Tom Tolbert all week long from 2 to 6, capping it off with Niners Nightly and Larry Kruger 6 to 7, and then, of course, Sports Phone, KNBR up until 9 o'clock. Monday through Friday. For John Lund, and thank you to our guy Tim, by the way. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Kyle and Kyle, who were here cutting sound all day. Raph, nothing from him in the Weather Center, so no thank yous for Raph. We'll get him next week. Raph, Chicago Bears look real good today. I said, how's your Bears doing? He goes, we had a field goal.
Oh, my God. It was so brutal.
Tough deal. The sports continue here on KNBR, where the 49ers are beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20 on the Sports Leader.
Money! Moody!